Welcome to the Atomic Habits team meeting. I'm so excited about today. I'm looking at a blizzard. I'm in Colorado and whoo, is it snowing like mad. It looks like we got some sunshine there. Miriam, it looks like, is that right? Do you have some sunshine behind you?
Yes, sunshine, I don't know, probably 60 degrees, South Carolina. It's good.
Oh, okay. Well, you guys deserve some sunshine in South Carolina.
Thanks.
You deserve every bit of it, for sure. Well, welcome everyone. We've got a few people still jumping in. I am so excited. We're going to get started right out of the gate. I am so excited to have Mat Lewczenko.
Nailed
Yay,
it.
I did it.
Nailed it.
I did it. Today's a great day because I'm pronouncing names correctly, so that's always a plus. Just to give you guys a little bit of an intro of him, Mat and I were leaders in a previous company. That's where I first got acquainted with him. And boy, is he and was he a powerhouse. He actually now is the director of growth for 5 states at EXP. And he kind of started out 13 years ago as a part-time agent, moved his way through. He is a distinguished international coach, you guys, keynote speaker, as well as a business consultant and an author. And, you know, he's just the type of guy when he walks in a room, you just know he deserves respect because he's accomplished so much and he just loves on people and cares. And that's what I love most about him. I remember when I went to a EXP event, I wasn't with EXP yet. He was, and we kind of bumped into each other in a line on something. And he's like, Jackie, and I'm like, Mat. He's like, what are you doing here? So I am so excited. I made the move. I've been following Mat's trail ever since. And so, guys, he's going to talk about becoming an active investor in your 2025 growth plan. So please take out your notes, your pen and your paper or whatever you have. I have a digital paper here and I'm excited to hear what you got to share. So Mat, take it over. Welcome.
Do I have the ability to share screen?
You will here in a second.
Good to see you, Mat. Glad you're here, man. Appreciate you.
Oh, so great to see you, Mat.
Yeah, buddy.
It's not an echo. It's just the 2 Mats. Here we go. Let me rock and roll here. Well, Jackie, thank you so much for the opportunity to come and speak with everybody. I love that you asked everyone to take notes and take as many notes as you'd like. I'm going to make these slides available for Jackie to share with all of you to take with you. And so my goal and my intention today is to inspire, empower, and leave you with some tactics and strategies on how to really level up in 2025 by taking an active approach in your personal growth. You cannot be a passive investor in your own growth. I think we've all experienced that. We've been to the trainings, we've been to the education, we've taken a lot of information and we go home and we do nothing. We had a lot of entertainment and not a lot of implementation. What do they call it? Edutainment. And one of the phrases that really stuck with me that one of the guys that I follow, Alex Hormozy, talks about, and he says that there is no learning without changed behavior. There's no learning without changed behavior. Otherwise, you can't measure learning without any change in behavior. You can have a lot of education. You can be really smart. You can be articulate, and you can recite all the things. And yet, if nothing's actually changed in your world, have you learned anything, or are you just really smart, right? And so my goal is we're going to cover these 4 things. Now, Jackie says, I'm going to give you 20, 25 minutes. I was like, that's exciting because this is a 60-minute keynote. So I'm going to go rapidly. The high D's in the room, you're going to love this. Everyone else, hang tight. Hopefully there's a recording and there's slides. And I'm going to share with you what one of my coaches said. He says, I don't talk fast, you think slow. So here we go. Buckle up. Let's roll. Awesome. All right. So the number one investment that we could all make, how many of you also, you recognize this gentleman here, Warren Buffett. He's obviously done a pretty good job when it comes to accumulating wealth. And one of the things that I discovered is that the note that he left for his estate team is that when he passes and his family takes on the estate, one of the things is, yes, he's going to be giving away so much of his wealth right back into the world. And yet, even the small percentages left over to the estate, he suggested to the estate what? Does anybody know by chance what he suggested the estate do with the wealth that's left over that's not going to be given away? He actually said, he says, please put it into an index fund, put it into the S&P, put it into an index, because that's going to be the most predictable and safest way for you to continue to grow and accumulate the wealth, right? And yet a lot of people believe that they can just kind of take a passive approach to their own growth. One of what Warren said is the best investment that you can actually make is an investment in yourself, because the more you learn, the more you earn. So instead of investing in the S&P 500, we're going to talk about investing in the S&Me 500 in 2025. Now, there's some cool things about it. You cannot lose your learning, your education. It can't be taken from you. Divorce, bankruptcy, failure can't take education from you. And even if you have to start, even if you fail, even if you go bankrupt, you're not starting over, you're starting from experience. And so your opportunity is going to be limited by your growth and by the way that you choose to take an active approach and learn how to begin changing your behavior and start applying these things. Now, top performers know that there's a secret to this. There's a formula. And the top performers also know that speed of implementation is king. If you go to a conference and you go to a training and an event, there's going to be some people that even before they got home, they've already put some things in motion. They've already taken 2, 3, 4 of the concepts and ideas and put them into play, and their teams are already executing on them. Some people said that I'm going to make 3 to 5 mistakes faster and already get them better before you even start. That's what most people do. And they understand this formula, and it comes from the book, The Inner Game of Tennis by Timothy Galway. How many of you have ever seen this formula before? Raise your hand or throw a thumbs up or in the chat. Do you know this formula, what it stands for? I'd love to get some ideas. What do you think big P equals little p minus I. What does the big P stand for? Go ahead and unmute, shout it out, or put it in the chat.
Maybe practice?
I love that. Practice, cool.
Or purpose?
Ooh, we're getting closer.
Perfection.
I like that idea. Some good P answers. So the big P stands for performance. So your performance, it could also be production, but like your performance is a factor of little p. And this is what my mom always said that I had so much of. And she says, you have so much potential. You have so much potential. And would you agree? Like, throw me a thumbs up in the window if you believe that you actually have more potential than you're actually letting out there into the world. You've got more in you. You could be doing more. You could be executing at a higher level. And it's a factor of your potential minus I. And I is interference. It's your performance and how you show up in the world is a factor of your potential minus interference. And what is that interference? Top performers are constantly going after ways to eliminate interference. That interference shows up in a lot of different ways. Fears, limiting beliefs, believing that there's a lack of knowledge or there's a lack of skill or a lack of resources or a lack of discipline. Tony Robbins says it's never a lack of resources, it's a lack of resourcefulness. Go ahead and talk to a crackhead and see if resources have anything to do with whether or not they get high that day. They don't have a would like to, they have a must do. They get rid of all of the interference to getting what they have to have. Is there anything that you would add to this interference? What's showing up in your world? What's holding you back from executing on your potential that's getting in the way of your performance?
Might be a limiting belief as well.
Okay, yeah, limiting beliefs, right? Whatever those limiting beliefs are. I'm too late to the game, I'm too new, it's saturated or it's not enough or whatever it is, right? Whatever those beliefs are. People don't want to hear from me. They hear from me too much, or I'm not enough, or maybe I'm a little much for most people. Whatever that is, right? Those limiting beliefs get in the way. Here's what's really cool is that these limiting beliefs, these interference, it's just all part of the programming that we have. And so if we take a look at the operating system that we're operating in, all of the things that we experience go through everything that we've ever lived in our life. All experiences are cataloged and stored in our brains, in our mindset, and all of the, whether it was positive, negative, good or bad, when we experience something new, it gets filtered through that same experience. And that experience then, through the programming, creates a thought. It was positive, negative. And then that thought creates feelings. Feelings are just simply thoughts on repeat. Anxiety is just a thought on repeat. And the thing is like people that like condition themselves for gratitude have just created a thought on repeat. Now, that feeling then is generally what gets in the way. There's the interference piece. The feeling is either helpful or hurtful. It's either moving us forward or backwards. And for most, we pause, we get stuck in that spot. And however, and we believe that if we take no action, it's not as bad as taking the wrong action. But here's the challenge. Non-action is an action. And if we allow a limiting belief or interference to get in the way of actually taking action towards our potential, we create what I like to call the cul-de-sac of indecision. And all this does is it continues to reinforce and creates a small limiting belief or a small fear into something really big, into something that we believe, because now we have continual evidence of, well, yeah, see, if I don't do it, then this, and it just gets bigger and bigger and stronger and stronger. And this is the challenge. Many of us have years and years and years of conditioning of not taking action when something feels a certain way. However, if you've read or listened to Jamie Kern Lima's book, Worthy, she does a really great job in chapter 2. I believe it's on page 41 or 42, where she reframes and redefines how she experiences rejection. And one of the ways that she defined it was just so beautiful. And she said that her life changed when she changed the definition of what rejection was for her. And she said that rejection was actually God's protection. And that rejection is just simply that the other person, that your value is hidden from the other person because you're not part of their destiny yet. And so every rejection that she experienced, she celebrated as protection. And I thought that that was such a beautiful way of reprogramming rejection, because before, any rejection would go back to like, oh, I didn't get picked in third grade for kickball. This time's like that time. No one likes me. I'm always last to be picked, etc. We've got a lot of experience and relationship with those feelings. And yet, the number one way that we can start reprogramming behavior is through what I call like the 3C framework. It's you have to make a choice to take a chance in order for anything to change. The first choice is deciding that enough's enough, that I'm tired of allowing these limiting beliefs, these fears, these ghost stories to hold me back from my purpose and who I'm supposed to and destined to be. And the challenge is that you've got to be able to take a chance into the unknown. It's like driving at night. The reason why we can drive at night is because there's headlights. If you didn't have headlights, driving at night would be pretty scary. The beauty of it is you do not have to see your destination in order to get there safely. You just have to continue to move forward and allow the headlights to reveal the next turn. You go slow enough to be able to stay in control and just know that the headlights are there to show you the next turn. Mentorship, coaching, these kinds of calls are your headlights. So you just have to be willing to let the unknown be revealed through the conversations and the relationships that you go into. I'm going to share with you a little bit more about that towards the end in the framework. And then understand that who you are is not locked in stone. You're destined to change. That's how this works. It's growth, right? It's a change. Here's one of those, one of my favorite quotes is, you continue to receive what you tolerate. And if you're not where you are, you're just not pissed enough. You're just okay. You're still okay with it. You're just okay. And okay kind of sucks, if I can be frank, right? If I can be blunt, okay kind of sucks. You have to be okay with not being okay. So how do we get there? Well, you gotta figure out what your FU number is. What is your FU number? And it stands for Freedom Unlimited. So if anyone on the call thought otherwise, that's on you. That's not this kind of call. What's your Freedom Unlimited number? And one of the best exercises that I ever got from this was Alex Hormozi was talking about, there was a presentation that he was a part of, and he asked in the audience, he asked this lady, he says, what do you make for a living? And she said, $50,000. And he says, perfect. He wrote $50,000 on the dry erase board. And then underneath it, he wrote $950,000. And she goes, what's that? And she goes, and he says, that is the debt that you pay the universe every year for not knowing the systems and the strategies of how to make $1 million. It's the number one debt that we pay every year, and that's ignorance, willful or otherwise, is that we have the opportunity to do more if we choose to step into that. So how do we do that, right? How do we do that? We have to pay it down. And there's a 3-step pay down framework that I call the study, the shadow, and the show up. And the first one is a time debt. So how do we pay down ignorance? There's a time debt, there's an ego debt, and there's an effort debt. The first debt is the time debt. It's study. I'm from Kansas City. I live in the Midwest. I like barbecue. How many of you ever come to Kansas City or gone to the Midwest? And I'll even include Texas here for those that might be in Texas. Brisket is a thing. It's a beautiful thing, and it's a challenge, and it's delicious. And I'm already hungry. It's 11 where I'm at, and tomorrow's Turkey Day. So let's talk barbecue. It's a brisket. And the thing is that some of the best brisket takes 13 to 15 hours to complete. It's 250 to 275 degrees for 12 to 13 hours until all the things that have to happen happens. Now, can you just crank it up to 400 and get the internal temperature up to a certain point and call it good? Unfortunately, it doesn't work, because just because you get the meat up to the temperature doesn't mean that you gave the fat enough time to render and the ligaments and all the things to kind of melt and get delicious and juicy, et cetera. And yet understand that sometimes the growth that we have to go through takes what it takes. And sometimes we can't skip a level or a step in the process just because, there's so many people that are like, all right, Matt, I get it. Can we just get to the steak enough with the sizzle? And the challenge is that desire to not go through the process is what keeps you stuck at the level you're at, because every level has a lesson. And just because you do the things that level 3 requires you to do doesn't mean you've absorbed or learned the lessons from level 2 and level 1. Because you can do the things that level 3 people do, but you can't keep the things that level 3 people get to keep because you haven't learned the lessons from level 1 and level 2. And so just understand that your growth takes what it takes. There's no skipping the process, and every level has its devil and every level has its lesson. So what do? If you would like to do X, Y, or Z, I'm going to go through and, for instance, if I'd like to get a financial education, I'm going to go and pull the masters. I'm going to pull Keith Cunningham. I'm going to pull Robert Kiyosaki. I'm going to pull Ramit Sethi. I'm going to pull Dave Ramsey. Now, all of these have a very different approach to wealth. And even Warren Buffett, right? So I'm going to include Warren. Now, there's 5 different individuals that are arguably masters in wealth, but they have a very different approach. What I'm looking for are the parallels. What are the pieces in all of the processes that connect me to the way that I'm called, or I feel like I can be building that wealth? So I'm going to assemble the masters. And they're either going to be people that that don't know me, but I know them, or they're going to be people that I know, but I'm also going to be listening to what are the parallels, finding the parallels. Now, this is the challenge where most of us stop. We get the education, and then the next step is the implementation. And it's scary. There's risk, there's downside, and so many people are like, well, I just need another class, or I need another thing. I can't move forward without, etc. And that's where the second pay down comes in. And that's the shadow debt. And this is one of the most important ones, is great leaders have to become great followers. And one of the best ways to do this is continually find rooms where you are not the smartest person. For me, that's still pretty easy. I find those very, very, very easy. I'm also really good at compiling information and sharing it, but I've got a lot to learn, right? So I embrace being the dumbest in the room. And this is where it can be a challenge sometimes, because many of us are coming from areas, industries, or segments of what we're doing where we were the top of the room, the best of the best, and everyone was coming to us for the answers. But then there's nothing more frustrating than being the person that everybody's coming to for the answers and you don't have any. And in order for you to get to the next level, you've got to actually make a deposit and pay down your ego debt and be okay with being a beginner. And just saying, hey, I know what I know, but I definitely know what I don't know. And here's what I'm going to do. I also know this. My life and the opportunities that have been provided me have everything to do with my relationships and the quality of my questions. So I'm going to challenge you this, is that your life moves at the speed of your relationships and the quality of your questions. And the question, when we're looking for mentors, or we're looking for those that we can shadow, are rarely, hey, can I pick your brain? Yes. Can I pick your brain? If someone comes to me and says, can I pick your brain? I go, no, ew, that's gross. You know who picks brains? Vultures. Vultures pick brains. Now, if you approach me and you said, Matt, hey, I really love the call thank you for being on the call with Jackie. And I went onto your social media. I was just, X, Y, and Z. Hey, I saw that you just wrote this book or whatever. I'm really curious about that topic, and I've got some ideas around that. And I wanted to share with you some thoughts and ideas. Do you have a moment to kind of share with me a little bit more about that book? And also, I'm thinking about starting a 501c3, and I see that you and your wife did one, and I would love any information or insights on how I can move that process further for myself. Well, guess what? I now have some time. And think about those of us that are busier than all get out. I'm absolutely too busy for those that just want to ask questions, or how many of you ever heard the term assholes? People that constantly ask you questions and they do nothing with it. I'm cool, thanks. I shared with you all it would take, and you did nothing. The assholes, all they're doing is they're seeking validation for why they're not doing what they're doing. And they're waiting, and they just would like for you to validate their lack of performance by identifying an interference that they can buy into, right? And so, however, if someone comes to me and really wants to get after it, I've got plenty of time on my calendar for those that are here to do, right? And more importantly, those that are looking to change who they're being. Right? Those who are really leaning into the process of changing that programming, changing behavior, and actually implementing what they learn. So there's truly education going on, right? Those are the people that I'm really looking for. And those are when you shadow, that's the way that you can get into some really great conversations. One of the beautiful things about shadow is that you can start creating confidence through somebody else's execution. You can start seeing them overcoming the risks, the challenges, and the obstacles, and overcoming those interferences. And you can start seeing that, oh, they're not as grave or they're not as great as I thought they were. It's not as scary. And the way they handled it, I actually am equipped to do that. I can do this. You get to have secondhand experience through the shadowing process. And then this is where the last one comes into play. And it's the effort debt. And here's the deal. You have to show up. The grind always is watching and knows if you're cheating. And the most important thing is that it's consistency over intensity. See, intensity gets likes, consistency cuts checks. Intensity gets likes, consistency cuts checks. And the people that are doing this at a high level, they'll share with you there is no secret. It's boring. Wealth creation, boring. Success, boring. Lead generation, boring. All of the things that are required for us to take it to the next level is about overcoming the desire for variety. Your desire for variety is one of the biggest interference pieces that's holding you back from mastery. The top people understand the boredom of mastery. And the last quote is one of my favorites, is that you do what's challenging until it becomes easy. But the thing is that once it's easy is actually when it becomes really hard. Because what's easy, we start to devalue. We stop doing the things that got us to where we are. This happened in 2021, 2022, and now in 2023, 2024, you've got agents and teams and team leaders that have been in the business for 15, 16, 20 years going, I don't want to actually do an open house. I don't want to write handwritten notes again. However, if I want to hit our goals and create an environment and an organization for our people that succeeds, I'm going to have to get back to the things that got us here. When it gets easy is actually when it gets hard. That's the last step of the debt pay down framework. So bring it all together. Number one is identify your ignorance debt. What's the gap between where you are and where you should be through what your potential actually is? And the gap, that interference, is the I piece, right? Understand what's been holding you back, and then get busy paying down that debt using the debt framework. Study, assemble the masters, find the parallels, get into mentorship, listen to them, watch what they're doing, get involved, start collecting some experience, start collecting their experience experientially through them. Right? Start developing your own confidence through watching their competence, right? And then lastly, you just have to show up consistently over time. It's not about going to the gym for 5 hours one day a week. It's going to the gym every week or every day for an hour without fail, forever. Forever. That's it. It's not a temporary thing. So again, I would love to hear any ahas or takeaways from this extremely quick conversation around becoming an active investor in your own growth in 2025.
I love it.
Yeah.
I was encouraged to read The Gap and the Gain by actually Don and Tom on the call today. And, one thing that I've watched Tom do so well, he's a master at implementation. And so him and I are accountability partners since EXPCon, and it's made such a difference. Tom, thank you. But I love that. I love the time debt, the ego debt, and the effort debt, and to work to pay that down on a consistent basis. I love it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jackie.
Other thoughts?
Yeah, thank you, Jackie. Well, I love the fact that you shared that it's boring. You're absolutely right. It is boring. We're all always looking for that shiny object, but where success really comes from is from doing the same thing over and over. And, we don't have to be great. We just have to be consistent. So thank you so much.
No, my pleasure, Tom. Thank you.
Yeah, my takeaway, or one of them, I like the quote, my life will be determined by my relationships and the questions that I ask. Of course, them and when you say relationships, I think of, the many mentors in my life and people that have gone before me and done what I want to do. And the quality of questions that I ask them is going to largely determine, how I'm going to be able to close that ignorance gap and then, be able to do the things that they did and maybe even avoid a few of the potholes that they fell in their journey. So that was great. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
So Matt, you talked about in the time debt, every level has its lesson and every level has its, what was that other?
Devil. Every level has its devil. And unless you learn the lesson from the level, you're bound to stay at that level, even if you bypass it through the activity. So a lot of us are really excited to get into the do, and then we haven't actually changed our belief systems, our programming, and we haven't really learned the lesson of the level. And we're going to continue to fall back to that level, whether it's money management, whether it's leadership, whether it's relational, whether it's physical or mental health, right? Like who you are isn't going to be like it. Just because you can emulate the activities of those on another level doesn't mean you get to keep it.
I love that. I remember thinking or hearing on a call, I think Stephanie Peck shared something she had learned at a training, that transformation is immediate. It's about one of those first slides you put on, how it's about making a choice. And that is more immediate. It's the activities that follow that where you get to keep that.
Yeah, if I can share a story around that, I think it's really apropos. I used to be a smoker. I smoked for 16 years, and when I met my wife in grad school, we had dated for about a year and a half, and I had attempted quitting smoking no less than 7 times. Sometimes I'd get 90 days out, and I kept trying to be an ex-smoker, and I kept failing. And then my wife. It was July 13th, 2006. I could tell you very specifically where it was because she sat down with me and she said, "Hey, I really like you and I like where this is going. However, I can't kiss you. Like it's disgusting. And I can't be with a smoker." And it was enough for her to she just called it out. She put it down. That was the last day I had a cigarette. And the thing is that day, what happened was I had an identity shift. I was no longer an ex-smoker. I became a non-smoker. Non-smokers don't think about cigarettes. Ex-smokers do. That was an instantaneous identity shift because I realized, okay, my life has changed because of that conversation. So my life changed because of the power of that relationship and the courage for her to ask the right question.
Yeah, James Clear talks about that in Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
What identity are you going to claim?
Yeah.
What are you going to own? And she basically gave you an ultimatum to say, hey, are you going to have an identity as a smoker or an occasional smoker? I mean, a non-smoker or an occasional smoker,
Yeah.
And because this is what I'm here for.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when your why is big enough, oftentimes you can find the how, right?
So much to think about. I mean, and I do love, the Worthy Rejection. And what was the name of that book? It was called Worthy. And who's
Worthy, yeah, but I'm sorry, not Angela. It was Jamie Kern Lima.
Jamie Carlia?
Kern, Kern, Lima, Lima.
Okay, I love it. Wow, so much to take from this, you guys. Yeah, we would love your slides, Matt. Send them over to me, and we'll be sure to get them out. And this was definitely recorded. And who do we got for next week, guys? Tom or Don?
Yeah, we've got a Power Pack week next week. So make sure you show up and be here. Same time, same channel. And in the meantime, we all got our inspiration. Time to put in our perspiration. And happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Thank you.
Hey, hold on. Also, we've got now 8 people that have joined the boot club and are going to do This is Strategy, Seth Godin. And so we're going to be doing the first meeting on that. I think it is December. Let me hold on a second. Man, it's amazing how time is flying, huh? Okay, so if you want to participate in building your strategy for 2025 and being in book club contests, which remember, in case you weren't there for the previous meeting, could get you a ticket to Cabo for the Growth Build event in March. It is Tuesday, 9 a.m. Pacific time, and it will be on my link, proinsightwithdon.live. But if you want to be in that group, we've got 8 now. We'd love to get to 12. And remember, we're going to have teams of 4, and then we're going to do like the Shark Tank at the end. And whoever gets the best strategy, we're all going to get to vote on it at the Atomic Team meeting on January 8th. That's the person that's going to Cabo with a free ticket. So step 1, let Megan know you're in for the book club. Step 2 is be there on December 3rd, 9 a.m. at proinsightwithdon.live.
And that's Pacific time?
Yeah, so 10 o'clock your time, Jackie. Oh. Are you gonna do it?
I think I've got 3 of us. I'm confirming with them. So
okay, cool.
Yeah,
cool. Yeah, and if you Miriam wants to do it too. So that would be great.
I'm signed up already, so I should be.
Oh, are you? Oh, okay. Yeah, fantastic.
Okay, I'll try and find another one, or if you want to find another one, I'm confirming with them if they will.
Miriam in your group. That works too. Miriam, are you South Carolina?
I am South Carolina, yeah.
Yeah. And what city?
Aiken, South Carolina.
Yeah. And by the way, I think also, aren't you an icon level producer?
I am, yeah.
Yeah. So Jackie.
Okay. Talk about getting in a room of
she would be a good one to have in your group.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay, you guys.
I'll confirm with them, and then I'll let Megan know.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.